Chapter 8 is looking at problems in education. Many societies have no formal educational system. The United States has over 400,000 schools. We've got 4.6 million primary and secondary teachers and college faculty, about 5.4 million administrators and support staff, and 75.9 million students. Yet 1 in 5 adults cannot read or write, and of course we're looking at this globally. Most of them are women. In general, education levels are rising. There is a clear line between education and income and education and employment. Certainly, the more education a person has, the higher their income and greater likelihood of employment. Spending varies widely by country. The average is $9,195 per student each year. The United States spends over $14,000 per student per year. Education serves important tasks for society, such as instruction, socialization, sorting individuals into various statuses, custodial care. Certainly, education teaches students to respect authority and socializes youth into the dominant culture. As racial and ethnic minority groups have increased, schools have to decide whether to teach one common culture or emphasize cultural diversity. And what multicultural education is it's just education that includes all racial and ethnic groups in the school curriculum. The conflict perspective argues that education solidifies class position and allows elites to control the masses. And we all know that quality education and educational opportunities are not equally distributed in society. It is a mechanism for cultural imperialism, and this is basically just indoctrination into the dominant culture of a society. The term organization child refers to the child in nursery school who is most comfortable with supervision, guidance, and adult control. And in other words, it's a child that has conformed. In class, the United States has more 3 to 5 year olds enrolled in preschool than in any other country except Canada. Education perpetuates racial inequality. Schools in poor districts with more minorities receive less funding. They have inadequate facilities, books, materials, equipment, and personnel. Looking at it from the symbolic interactionist perspective, they are concerned with the individual and small group issues in education, such as teacher-student interactions and the self-fulfilling prophecy. The self-fulfilling prophecy occurs when people act in a manner consistent with the expectations of others. For example, class, a teacher who defines a student as slow may call on the student less, encourage them to pursue easier subjects, and assign them to lower ability groups or tracks, which can certainly result in the student performing at a lower level. Socioeconomic status is one of the best predictors of educational success and attainment. Children whose families are in the middle and upper socioeconomic brackets are more likely to perform better in schools and complete more years of education than children from the lower socioeconomic class families. Students from higher socioeconomic backgrounds are more likely to enroll in the advanced math courses, graduate from high school, graduate with a bachelor's degree in 5 years, and of course low-income families have less money for books and computers and tutors or educational extracurricular activities, and are less likely to be involved in those school-related activities. In 1965, Project Head Start began to help preschool children from low-income families. It does provide an integrated program of health care, parental involvement, education, and social services. Graduates of Head Start score better on intelligence and achievement tests. They have better health status and have the socio-emotional traits to help them adjust to school. Socioeconomic status interacts with race and ethnicity. Race, ethnicity may have an independent effect on achievement, but the relationship is largely a result of socioeconomic status. Many schools today are racially segregated despite the 1954 Supreme Court ruling in Brown versus Board of Education that segregated education was unconstitutional and inherently unequal. The Coleman Report was a 1966 study that found almost 80% of schools attended by whites contained 10% or less blacks, and that whites outperform minorities, excluding Asian Americans, on academic tests. The Coleman Report advocated the integration hypothesis, which is a theory that the only way to achieve quality education for all racial and ethnic groups is to desegregate the schools. They advocated busing to achieve a racial balance, and since 1986, there has been a trend toward resegregation. Worldwide, women receive less education than men. Women comprise 2/3 of the world's illiterate. 70% of the 125 million children worldwide who are not in school are girls. Of the 176 countries with data that's available, 1/3 have not achieved greater parity in primary schools. Historically, in the United States, schools have discriminated against women. Before the 1830s, United States colleges accepted only male students. But in Title IX of the Education Amendment of 1972, it states that no person can be discriminated against based on sex in any education program that receives federal funding. Boys are more likely to lag behind girls in the classroom. They're more likely to be diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, have learning disabilities, feel alienated from the learning process, speech impediments, labeled mentally retarded, drop out or be expelled from school. And class, I want to say that American schools are just average according to the public opinion and annual assessments conducted by the Educational Research Center. The center assigned an overall score to the nation's schools as 76.3, which is a C. Some of the problems that our schools, and of course we're talking about in the United States, face is dropping out. Certainly the status dropout rate is the percentage of an age group that is not in school and has not earned a high school degree or its equivalent. Certainly consequences of dropping out include reduced tax revenues, increase in societal costs for public assistance, crime, health care. There are many reasons why individuals drop out of school. There's a list here. Certainly socioeconomic indicators, the number of parents in the home, the number of times a student changes school. We can go on and on and on with reasons for dropping out. Despite the horror recent school shootings, certainly the chance of a student being killed at school is quite rare. Most school crime is not serious. As a matter of fact, it is theft that accounts for 64% of the total crimes against students. Bullying is characterized by an imbalance of power that exists over a long period of time, in which the more powerful intimidates or belittle others, is also a problem. Bullies often perform poorly academically, and of course we do have alternative schools that have developed to house the troublemakers, so to speak. The American Federation of Teachers documents problems in today's schools, including rodent infestation, poor lighting, mold, crumbling exterior walls, asbestos, severely overcrowded classrooms and hallways, freezing rooms in the winter, extreme heat in the summer, clogged bathroom toilets, inadequate circuit breakers causing frequent outages, poor ventilation, and more. It is estimated that state governments need over $254 billion for school infrastructure, repairs, renovations, and so forth and so on. School districts with inadequate funding and facilities, low salaries, lack of community support, and minimal professional development often have difficulty attracting and retaining qualified school personnel. The number of school teachers leaving the field is increasing. Certainly high teacher turnover is problematic because newer teachers are less experienced and often less effective. Teacher turnover contributes to a lack of continuity in programs, and replacing teachers requires recruiting and training expenses, certainly time and effort. Many schools are now offering what is known as an alternative certification program. These are those in which college graduates with degrees in fields other than education can become certified if they have life experience in industry, the military, or relevant jobs. Many challenges of higher education. Certainly the cost of getting a college degree is increasing. Access to and completion of higher education, particularly among minority and or low-income students, is also problematic. Certainly we're having policy changes allowing community colleges to award bachelor's degrees and 3-year degree programs granted by 4-year universities. The 2010 budget includes billions of dollars to assist colleges that primarily serve minority or economically disadvantaged students. They help states develop programs that focus on increasing graduation rates among the low-income students and develop local projects that are models for innovative reform and improvement in post-secondary education. The No Child Left Behind Act of 2001 was signed into law in January of 2002. It is organized around 4 principles, which is accountability for learning outcomes, flexibility in funding,